The scent of lilies always filled our home. Isabella loved them, their delicate fragrance a constant presence, a symbol of the elegance she cultivated. I used to find comfort in it, a familiar aroma that spoke of shared mornings, quiet evenings, and a life I believed was built on unwavering trust. But lately, the lily's perfume seemed to have morphed, becoming cloying, almost suffocating. It was a subtle change, one I couldn't quite place my finger on, much like the subtle shift in Isabella herself. Our life, from the outside, appeared a masterpiece. We were Alexander and Isabella, the architect and the artist, a power couple gracing the pages of design magazines and art reviews. Our gatherings were legendary, filled with stimulating conversations, the clinking of crystal glasses, and the soft murmur of appreciation for Isabella's latest masterpiece or my newest architectural design. We had built this life together, brick by brick, canvas by canvas, a testament to our shared ambition and seemingly unwavering devotion. But the foundation, I was beginning to suspect, had developed a crack. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Isabella's late nights at the studio became more frequent, her explanations vague. Creative inspiration, she'd murmur, a dismissive wave of her hand, her eyes avoiding mine. Her once vibrant laughter, which used to fill our home, grew fainter, replaced by a distracted air. She'd be present physically, but her mind seemed to be elsewhere, lost in a world I was no longer privy to. I tried to rationalize it. Isabella was a renowned artist, her work demanding. The pressure of exhibitions, the constant scrutiny of the art world, it was bound to take its toll. I told myself I was being overly sensitive, that my anxieties were unfounded. I buried my concerns deep down, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling that something was amiss. I clung to the image of the Isabella the first knew, the woman who had shared my dreams, my passions, my life. Yet the subtle shifts continued. A new perfume, something musky and unfamiliar, began to linger in the air after Isabella returned from her studio. A sudden influx of new acquaintances, artists and critics I had never met before, populated our gatherings, their eyes lingering a little too long on Isabella, their smiles a little too knowing. And then, there were the whispers. At first, they were just that, whispers, barely audible murmurs in the background of a gallery opening or a social event. Isabella, they'd say, followed by a hushed, unfinished sentence, a suggestive glance. I tried to dismiss them, to convince myself they were the product of idle gossip, the petty jealousies of the art world. But the whispers persisted, growing louder, more insistent, like a persistent hum beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. They were like tiny needles pricking at my carefully constructed facade of contentment, slowly eroding my peace of mind. The lilies, once a symbol of our shared life, now seemed to mock me with their cloying sweetness, their fragrance a constant reminder of the subtle, unsettling changes in the woman I loved, or at least, the woman I thought I loved. The crack in the foundation, I feared, was widening. Isabella had announced another business trip, this time to Florence for an art symposium. These trips had become increasingly frequent, each one leaving a residue of unease in its wake. I used to wave her off with a kiss and a promise to have her favorite Italian wine waiting upon her return. This time, the gesture felt hollow, my smile forced. A sense of dread, heavy and suffocating, settled in my chest as I watched her car disappear down the driveway. The house felt cavernous without her. The silence, once a comfortable backdrop to our shared evenings, now echoed with my unspoken anxieties. I wandered through the rooms, each object a painful reminder of our life together. The photographs on the mantelpiece, capturing our travels, our successes, our seemingly blissful moments, now felt like carefully staged illusions. I picked up a framed picture of Isabella, her radiant smile capturing the essence of the woman I thought I knew. But as I gazed at her image, a chilling realization washed over me. I didn't know her anymore. I found myself drawn to her study, a space I rarely entered. It was her sanctuary, a place where she nurtured her creativity, a world I respected and never dared to intrude upon. But tonight, driven by an unease I could no longer ignore, I crossed the threshold. The room was filled with the familiar scent of linseed oil and turpentine, a testament to her artistic passion. Her latest canvases leaned against the walls, their vibrant colors and abstract forms reflecting the complex and enigmatic woman she had become. My eyes fell on her laptop, lying open on her desk. I hesitated, a sense of guilt washing over me. Invading her privacy felt like a betrayal, a violation of the trust we had once shared. But the whispers, the subtle shifts, the gnawing feeling in my gut, pushed me forward. I told myself it was for the best, that I needed to know the truth, whatever it might be. With trembling hands, I clicked on the screen. A password prompt appeared, a barrier between me and the secrets hidden within. I tried a few obvious combinations, birthdays, anniversaries, but none worked. Then, a memory surfaced, a casual conversation we had years ago about online security. Isabella had mentioned a fondness for a particular Italian Renaissance artist. I typed in the artist's name, and the laptop unlocked. My heart pounded in my chest as I navigated through her files. Folders filled with images, documents, and videos appeared on the screen. One folder, labeled simply private, caught my attention. My breath hitched as I clicked it open. The contents of that folder shattered my world. It was a Pandora's box of betrayal, a meticulously documented chronicle of Isabella's infidelity. Messages, photos, and videos revealed a web of deceit that spanned years, involving not just one, but multiple lovers. Men I knew, men I had welcomed into our home, men who had shared our dinners, our laughter, our lives. The blood drained from my face as I scrolled through the files, each image, each message, a dagger twisting in my heart. The whispers, the subtle shifts, the unease I had tried to ignore, now screamed at me with deafening clarity. Isabella's business trips, her late nights at the studio, her distant demeanor. It all made sense now, a cruel and devastating puzzle falling into place. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had been living a double life, a life built on lies and deception. The foundation of our perfect life, the life we had built together, had crumbled before my eyes, leaving me standing amidst the ruins of my shattered dreams. The lily's cloying sweetness now turned to bitterness, a symbol of the betrayal that had poisoned my life. The initial shock gave way to a maelstrom of emotions. Rage, betrayal, humiliation, and a profound sense of loss battled within me. I wanted to scream, to break things, to confront Isabella and unleash the fury that consumed me. But a strange calmness settled over me, a cold, calculating resolve. I knew that a direct confrontation, an outburst of anger, would only serve to alert Isabella, giving her a chance to cover her tracks, to deny, to deflect. No, I needed a different approach, a more calculated response. I needed to plan. I closed the laptop. The images of her betrayal burned into my memory. I left her study, the sanctuary of her deceit, and went to the bar. Pouring myself a stiff drink, I stared out the window at the city lights, each twinkling light a mocking reminder of the life I thought I had. The alcohol did little to numb the pain, the sense of violation. Instead, it fueled a cold, hard anger, a determination to make Isabella pay for what she had done. The next morning, I woke up with a chilling clarity. The raw emotions of the previous night had subsided, replaced by a steely resolve. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, a stranger staring back at me. The man I saw was not the Alexander the First knew. His eyes were colder, his jaw set with determination, a hint of ruthlessness in his expression. This was a man on a mission, a man driven by a thirst for revenge. When Isabella returned from Florence, I greeted her with a smile, a hug, a kiss. She seemed surprised by my warmth, a flicker of guilt crossing her eyes. I saw through her facade, the practiced ease with which she lied, the way her eyes darted away when I looked at her too closely. But I played along, maintaining the charade, the mask of normalcy. I became a master of deception, mirroring her own behavior, feeding her lies with lies of my own. I continued our routine, attending social events, hosting dinners, playing the role of the loving husband. But behind the mask, I was a different man. My every action, every word was calculated, a step in a carefully orchestrated plan. I observed Isabella and her interactions, noting the subtle signs of her deceit, the fleeting glances, the coded messages, the carefully constructed alibis. Each observation fueled my resolve, strengthened my determination to make her pay. The lilies in our home, once a symbol of our shared life, now became a reminder of her betrayal. Their cloying fragrance, once a source of comfort, now filled me with disgust. I replaced them with orchids, their exotic beauty masking a subtle poison, a reflection of the venomous anger that simmered beneath my calm exterior. The mask I wore was a shield, protecting me from the pain, the humiliation, the devastation. But it was also a weapon, allowing me to move undetected, to plot my revenge, to prepare for the day when I would unleash the full force of my fury upon Isabella and everyone who had betrayed me. Living with Isabella under the pretense of normalcy was a torment, a constant exercise in self-control. Each shared meal, each casual touch, each whispered "I love you," was a knife twisting in my gut. But I endured, driven by the need to gather evidence, to understand the full extent of her betrayal. I transformed our home office into a clandestine war room. Late at night, while Isabella slept peacefully beside me, I would pore over her laptop, her phone, any digital trace of her infidelity. I became a digital detective, piecing together the fragments of her secret life. Her web of deceit was vast and intricate, woven with lies, alibis, and carefully concealed communications. I discovered encrypted messaging apps, hidden email accounts, and a network of online profiles she used to connect with her lovers. The sheer volume of evidence was overwhelming, a testament to the meticulousness with which she had cultivated her betrayal. I learned the names, the faces, the professions of her lovers. They were a diverse group, ranging from fellow artists and critics to businessmen and even a renowned politician. Some were acquaintances, others complete strangers. But they all shared one thing in common. They had betrayed my trust, violated my marriage, and shattered my life. Each discovery fueled my anger, but it also sparked a perverse curiosity. Who were these people who had captivated Isabella? What had she seen in them that she couldn't find in me? I delved deeper into their lives, researching their backgrounds, their families, their secrets. I wanted to understand their motivations, their vulnerabilities, the cracks in their own facades that Isabella had exploited. My investigation extended beyond the digital realm. I hired a private investigator, a discreet professional who specialized in uncovering the secrets of the wealthy and powerful. He provided me with surveillance reports, photographs, and even video footage of Isabella's clandestine meetings with her lovers. I watched these recordings with a mixture of disgust and fascination, each encounter a fresh wound, a reminder of my humiliation. The more I learned, the more complex the web of deceit became. Isabella's affairs were not just physical. They were emotional, intellectual, and even financial. I discovered evidence of secret bank accounts, hidden investments, and even property transactions that she had concealed from me. She had been systematically siphoning off our assets, building a financial safety net for herself, while leaving me in the dark. The weight of this betrayal was crushing, but it also fueled my resolve. I would not be a victim. I would not let Isabella and her lovers get away with their treachery. I would expose them, dismantle their lives, and make them pay for the pain they had inflicted upon me. The mask of sanity I wore hid a growing darkness, a cold, calculating fury that was slowly consuming me. I was no longer the man I once was. I was a man transformed by betrayal, a man on a mission of revenge. My investigation had revealed that Isabella's longest-standing affair was with Damien, a charismatic art critic known for his sharp wit and influential reviews. He was a regular at our gatherings, a fixture in the art world, and a man I had once considered a friend. The betrayal cut deep, the sense of violation amplified by the years of shared meals, conversations, and laughter. Damien, I discovered, was not just Isabella's lover. He was her confidant, her advisor, and a key player in her financial schemes. He used his influence to promote her work, inflate its value, and steer lucrative commissions her way, all the while taking a cut for himself. He was a parasite, feeding off Isabella's talent and my wealth, and I was determined to expose him. My first strike was subtle, a carefully calculated move designed to sow seeds of doubt and suspicion. I anonymously leaked information to a rival art critic, hinting at Damien's unethical practices and questionable financial dealings. The rumors spread like wildfire through the art world, tarnishing Damien's reputation and casting a shadow over his credibility. I watched from the sidelines, my mask of normalcy firmly in place, as Damien's world began to crumble. His reviews were scrutinized, his opinions questioned, his influence waning. He became defensive, paranoid, his once charming demeanor replaced by a frantic desperation. The next phase of my plan was more direct. I had discovered that Damien had a penchant for gambling and had accrued substantial debts. I discreetly contacted his creditors, offering to settle his debts in exchange for their cooperation. They were eager to oblige, their loyalty easily bought. On the eve of a major art auction, where Damien was set to be the keynote speaker, his creditors descended upon him, demanding immediate payment. The scene was chaotic, the scandal undeniable. Damien's reputation was shattered, his career in ruins. Isabella, oblivious to my role in Damien's downfall, was distraught. She tried to console him, to offer support, but her efforts were in vain. Damien, consumed by his own problems, had no time for her affections. He pushed her away, accusing her of being a distraction, a liability. I watched their relationship unravel, a sense of grim satisfaction filling me. Damien, the man who had shared my wife, my life, my home, was now paying the price for his betrayal. It was a small victory, a taste of the revenge to come. But it was just the beginning. The web of deceit was vast, and I had many more targets in my sights. Damien's downfall was just the first domino to fall. I had meticulously compiled a dossier on each of Isabella's lovers, their secrets, their vulnerabilities, their deepest fears. I knew their families, their businesses, their hidden desires, and I was ready to exploit them. My revenge was not about brute force or physical violence. It was about precision, about targeting their weaknesses, about dismantling their lives with surgical precision. I became a puppet master, pulling strings, orchestrating events, and watching the chaos unfold. I leaked compromising information to spouses, employers, and business partners. I exposed hidden affairs, financial irregularities, and even criminal activities. I used anonymous emails, burner phones, and encrypted networks to protect my identity, ensuring that my involvement remained hidden. The dominoes began to fall, one after another. A prominent politician, caught in a compromising position with a young intern, resigned in disgrace. A successful entrepreneur, his embezzlement scheme exposed, faced bankruptcy and jail time. A renowned artist, his plagiarism revealed, was ostracized by the art world. Each downfall brought me a sense of satisfaction, a perverse pleasure in watching these people, who had betrayed me, suffer the consequences of their actions. But my primary target was still Isabella. I wanted her to witness the destruction she had wrought, to see the pain and suffering she had caused. I orchestrated events that brought her face to face with the consequences of her actions. I arranged for her to be at a gallery opening where one of her lovers, his reputation in tatters, was publicly humiliated. I ensured that she was present at a charity gala where another lover, his financial empire crumbling, was shunned by his former associates. Isabella's world began to shrink, her social circle contracting as her lovers' lives imploded. Her friends, once eager to bask in her reflected glory, now distanced themselves, fearing guilt by association. She became isolated, her once vibrant social life reduced to a series of awkward encounters and forced smiles. The whispers that had once haunted me now followed Isabella. Her reputation, once pristine, was tarnished by association with scandal and deceit. Her art, once celebrated, was now viewed with suspicion, her talent overshadowed by her personal life. I watched Isabella's descent with a mixture of satisfaction and pity. She was a victim of her own desires, her insatiable appetite for attention and admiration leading her down a path of destruction. But she was also a victim of my revenge, a pawn in my carefully orchestrated game of retribution. The dominoes continued to fall, each one bringing Isabella closer to the brink. The web of deceit she had so carefully woven was unraveling, and she was powerless to stop it. The mask of normalcy she had worn for so long was slipping, revealing the fear and desperation beneath. The time was coming for the final act, the ultimate confrontation. While the social and reputational attacks were taking their toll on Isabella and her lovers, I was simultaneously working on a more insidious and devastating plan: financial ruin. I had always been the financial backbone of our marriage, my architectural firm generating substantial income while Isabella's art, though critically acclaimed, was less commercially successful. This imbalance had always been a point of unspoken tension between us, fueling her resentment and, I now realized, her desire for independence. With the help of a team of lawyers and financial advisors, I began to subtly restructure our assets. I created new trusts, shifted investments offshore, and established discrete accounts in my name alone. I meticulously documented every transaction, ensuring that my actions were legally sound and untraceable. Isabella, preoccupied with her affairs and the unraveling of her social circle, remained oblivious to my maneuvers. She continued to live lavishly, indulging in expensive art supplies, designer clothes, and extravagant trips, unaware that the financial ground beneath her feet was shifting. I also began to subtly sabotage her financial ventures. I anonymously tipped off tax authorities about irregularities in her art sales, leading to audits and investigations. I planted rumors about her financial instability, discouraging potential investors and collectors. And I discreetly withdrew my support from her upcoming exhibition, leaving her scrambling for funding. The financial pressure began to mount. Isabella's credit cards were declined, her gallery payments delayed, her expenses piling up. She became increasingly frantic, her desperation palpable. She tried to approach me for financial assistance, but I feigned ignorance, claiming to be experiencing financial difficulties of my own. The irony was not lost on me. The woman who had betrayed me, who had systematically siphoned off our assets, was now facing financial ruin. The final blow came when I initiated divorce proceedings. I had ensured that the prenuptial agreement we had signed years ago, which Isabella had dismissed as a mere formality, was ironclad. She was entitled to a minimal settlement, a pittance compared to the wealth she had enjoyed. Her lawyers fought tooth and nail, but my legal team was prepared, their arguments airtight. Isabella's financial world imploded. She was forced to sell her art, her properties, even her jewelry to cover her debts. The lifestyle she had so carefully cultivated, the image of success and sophistication she had projected, was shattered. She was left with nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal and the crushing weight of financial ruin. The financial stranglehold was complete. Isabella, once a celebrated artist, a socialite, a woman of means, was now reduced to a pauper, a pariah, a shadow of her former self. The woman who had betrayed me, who had sought to secure her own financial independence through deceit and manipulation, was now utterly dependent on the very man she had wronged. It was a cruel twist of fate, a fitting punishment for her treachery. With her reputation in tatters and her finances in ruins, Isabella's social standing crumbled. The art world, once her playground, now shunned her. Invitations to exclusive galleries and prestigious events dried up. Former friends and colleagues, once eager to be seen in her company, now avoided her like the plague. The whispers that had once been veiled now became open condemnations. People spoke of her infidelity, her deceit, her financial impropriety. She became a cautionary tale, a symbol of the dangers of ambition and betrayal. Even those who had once been sympathetic to her plight now distanced themselves. Her lovers, their own lives in disarray, wanted nothing to do with her. They blamed her for their misfortunes, their downfall. She had become a liability, a reminder of their own indiscretions. Isabella's once vibrant social life evaporated. The dinners, the parties, The gatherings that had once filled her calendar vanished. She found herself alone, isolated, with only her bitterness and regret for company. I watched her social exile with a detached satisfaction. The woman who had thrived on attention, who had craved admiration and validation, was now starved of it. The social circles she had so desperately sought to belong to now rejected her, casting her out like a leper. I orchestrated subtle social maneuvers to amplify her isolation. I planted rumors about her erratic behavior, her financial instability, her desperate attempts to cling to her former status. I ensured that her name was excluded from guest lists, her presence unwelcome at any gathering of note. The social ostracization was complete. Isabella, once a shining star in the social firmament, was now a black hole, a void that people avoided at all costs. The woman who had betrayed me, who had sought to elevate her social standing through deceit and manipulation, was now cast out, relegated to the fringes of society. The social exile was a slow and agonizing death. It chipped away at Isabella's self-esteem, her sense of worth, her very identity. The woman who had once been so confident, so assured, was now a shell of her former self, haunted by the ghosts of her past and the specter of her social demise. I observed her decline with a cold detachment. There was no pleasure in it, no sense of triumph. It was simply a necessary step in my plan, a means to an end. The social exile was a punishment, a consequence of her betrayal. But it was also a form of control, a way to ensure that she could never again rise to the position she had once held, that she could never again threaten my world. Isabella's art, once her refuge and her pride, now became a source of pain and humiliation. With her reputation tarnished and her social standing destroyed, the art world turned its back on her. Critics who had once lauded her work now dismissed it as derivative, uninspired, even fraudulent. Her exhibitions, once eagerly anticipated, were now met with indifference or outright hostility. Galleries that had once clamored to showcase her paintings now refused to exhibit them. Collectors who had once paid exorbitant prices for her canvases now shunned them, fearing that their association with her tainted name would devalue their investments. I subtly fueled this artistic demise. I used my connections in the art world to spread rumors about her plagiarism, her lack of originality, her reliance on Damien's influence to promote her work. I anonymously submitted critical reviews of her exhibitions, highlighting their flaws and questioning her artistic integrity. I even went so far as to commission a series of forgeries of her most famous paintings, flooding the market with cheap imitations that diluted the value of her authentic works. The art world, always eager for a scandal, lapped it up. Isabella's name became synonymous with fraud, her artistic legacy tarnished beyond repair. The artistic demise was perhaps the cruelest blow of all. Isabella's art had been her lifeblood, her passion, her means of self-expression. To have it taken away from her, to have her talent denied and her legacy destroyed, was a punishment that cut to the core of her being. I watched her artistic decline with a mixture of sadness and satisfaction. Sadness, because I knew how much her art meant to her, how much she had poured her heart and soul into it. Satisfaction, because I knew that this was the ultimate revenge, the most devastating blow I could inflict upon her. The artistic demise was not just about destroying her career, her livelihood. It was about destroying her spirit, her sense of self. It was about taking away the one thing that had given her meaning and purpose in life. Isabella, once a celebrated artist, a visionary, a woman whose talent had been recognized and admired, was now a pariah, a fraud, a has-been. The woman who had betrayed me, who had sought to elevate her artistic standing through deceit and manipulation, was now stripped of her art, her legacy, her very identity as an artist. The artistic demise was complete. Isabella, once a shining star in the art world, was now a fallen angel, her wings clipped, her light extinguished. The woman who had sought to conquer the art world through her talent and ambition was now conquered by it, her artistic dreams shattered, her creative spirit crushed. My revenge had been meticulously planned, executed with surgical precision. But there was one final act, one last devastating blow that I needed to deliver. Isabella's betrayal had been private, hidden behind closed doors and encrypted messages. But my revenge would be public, a spectacle for all to see. I had amassed a vast collection of evidence during my investigation. Intimate photos, compromising videos, and explicit messages detailing Isabella's affairs. I had resisted the urge to confront her with this evidence, to unleash my fury in a private confrontation. No, I wanted the world to see the true Isabella, the woman behind the mask, the woman who had betrayed my trust and shattered my life. I chose my platform carefully. A popular online forum, known for its gossip and salacious content, was the perfect stage for my final act. I created an anonymous account and began to leak the evidence, drip-feeding it to the online community, fueling their insatiable appetite for scandal. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Isabella's name became a trending topic, her private life dissected and debated by millions of strangers. The photos and videos went viral, shared and reshared across social media platforms. The intimate details of her affairs, once hidden in the shadows, were now exposed to the harsh glare of public scrutiny. The public spectacle was relentless. Isabella was mocked, ridiculed, and condemned. Her name became synonymous with infidelity, her image tarnished beyond repair. The woman who had once been admired for her beauty, her talent, her social grace, was now reduced to an object of scorn and derision. I watched the spectacle unfold with a detached satisfaction. This was the culmination of my revenge, the final act of my carefully orchestrated plan. Isabella's humiliation was complete, her public image destroyed, her reputation in ruins. The public spectacle was not just about exposing her infidelity. It was about stripping her of her dignity, her privacy, her sense of self. It was about making her pay the ultimate price for her betrayal, a price that went far beyond the loss of her marriage, her social standing, and her artistic career. Isabella, once a private person, a woman who had guarded her secrets closely, was now a public figure, her life an open book, her most intimate moments exposed to the world. The woman who had sought to control her image, to curate her public persona, was now powerless to stop the onslaught of public scrutiny and condemnation. The public spectacle was complete. Isabella, once a respected figure, a woman of influence and social standing, was now a pariah, a figure of ridicule, a cautionary tale. The woman who had betrayed me, who had sought to elevate her public image through deceit and manipulation, was now destroyed by it, her reputation in tatters, her name forever associated with scandal and shame. The public spectacle had a devastating impact on Isabella. The weight of public shame, the relentless online harassment, and the constant fear of exposure took a heavy toll on her mental and emotional well-being. She retreated from the world, becoming a recluse in her own home. The phone calls stopped. The few friends who had remained loyal now distanced themselves, unable to bear the association with her scandal. Her once bustling social calendar became empty, her days filled with silence and solitude. Her lovers, once eager for her attention, now shunned her. They feared being dragged into the public spectacle, their own reputations tarnished by their association with her. They blocked her calls, deleted her messages, and erased any trace of their relationship. Even her family, once a source of support, now struggled to reconcile with her actions. Her parents, heartbroken and ashamed, pleaded with her to seek help, to apologize, to make amends. But Isabella, consumed by her own pain and humiliation, pushed them away, unable to face their judgment. The isolation was complete. Isabella, once surrounded by admirers, friends, and family, was now utterly alone. The woman who had thrived on social interaction, who had craved connection and validation, was now cut off from the world, left to wallow in her own misery. I observed her descent into isolation with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. Pity, because I knew the pain she was enduring, the loneliness that consumed her. Satisfaction, because this was the ultimate consequence of her betrayal, the final stage of my revenge. The isolation was not just a physical state. It was a mental and emotional prison, a self-imposed exile from the world. Isabella had become a prisoner of her own making, trapped in a cycle of shame, regret, and self-loathing. The woman who had once been so vibrant, so full of life, was now a shadow of her former self. Her eyes, once sparkling with joy and mischief, were now dull and lifeless. Her smile, once radiant and infectious, was now a distant memory. The isolation was a slow and agonizing death. It chipped away at Isabella's spirit, her will to live, her very essence. The woman who had once been so strong, so independent, was now broken and defeated, a victim of her own choices and the consequences of my revenge. The time had come for the final confrontation. I had meticulously planned every step of my revenge, orchestrating Isabella's downfall with cold precision. But I had yet to confront her directly, to reveal my role in her demise, to witness the full impact of my actions. I chose the setting carefully. Our home, the scene of our shared life, the backdrop to her betrayal. The lilies, long since replaced by orchids, were gone. The house was empty, stripped of its warmth and vibrancy, a hollow shell reflecting the state of our marriage. I sent Isabella a simple message: "Come home. We need to talk." She arrived hours later, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed. The once proud and defiant woman was now broken and defeated, the weight of my revenge crushing her spirit. I led her to the living room, where I had laid out the evidence of her betrayal. The photos, the videos, the messages, all meticulously organized and displayed. She looked at them with a mixture of shame and horror, her eyes welling up with tears. "I know," I said, my voice cold and emotionless. "I know everything." The confession hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Isabella's body trembled, her sobs echoing through the empty house. She tried to speak, to apologize, to explain, but the words caught in her throat. I let her suffer in silence for a moment, savoring the moment of her complete and utter defeat. Then, I began to speak, my voice rising with each word. "You betrayed me," I said, my voice filled with anger and disgust. "You lied to me, you cheated on me, you stole from me. You destroyed our marriage, our life, our future." Isabella's sobs intensified, her body racked with guilt and shame. She looked at me with pleading eyes, begging for forgiveness, for mercy. But I had none to give. "You think you can just walk away from this?" I continued, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You think you can just forget about what you've done? You think you can escape the consequences of your actions?" Isabella shook her head, her tears flowing freely. She knew there was no escape, no redemption. She had made her choices, and now she had to pay the price. "I planned this," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. "I orchestrated your downfall. I destroyed your reputation, your career, your finances. I isolated you from your friends, your family, your lovers. I made you suffer." Isabella's eyes widened in horror. She looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, realizing the full extent of my revenge. The woman who had once known me as a loving and devoted husband now saw me as a cold and calculating avenger. "Why?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Because you betrayed me," I said, my voice filled with rage. "Because you broke my heart. Because you destroyed my life." The confrontation was over. I had said my piece, delivered my final blow. Isabella was left to face the ruins of her life, the consequences of her betrayal, and the full weight of my revenge. The confrontation had stripped Isabella bare, exposing her vulnerabilities, her weaknesses, her deepest fears. She was no longer the woman I had known, the woman who had captivated me with her beauty, her talent, her charm. She was a broken woman, a shell of her former self, consumed by regret and despair. I watched her, my heart devoid of any sympathy or compassion. The pain she felt was a mere fraction of the pain she had inflicted upon me. The humiliation she endured was a just consequence of her betrayal. I had achieved my revenge. I had systematically dismantled her life, exposing her secrets, destroying her reputation, and isolating her from the world. I had made her pay for what she had done, exacting a price that was both cruel and fitting. But as I looked at her, a strange emptiness settled over me. The satisfaction I had craved, the sense of triumph I had expected, never materialized. Instead, I felt a hollowness, a void where my anger had once burned. Isabella's suffering did not bring me joy. Her pain did not alleviate my own. My revenge, though meticulously planned and flawlessly executed, had not filled the emptiness within me. I had sought justice, retribution, a way to heal the wounds of betrayal. But in my quest for revenge, I had become the very thing I despised. A cold, calculating, and vengeful man. I had lost myself in the darkness, consumed by my desire for revenge. I had sacrificed my own happiness, my own peace of mind, in pursuit of a hollow victory. Isabella's downfall was not my triumph. It was a tragedy, a testament to the destructive power of betrayal and the corrosive nature of revenge. I left her there, in the ruins of our shared life, a broken woman facing the consequences of her actions. I walked away, leaving behind the house, the memories, the pain. The reckoning was not hers alone. It was mine as well. I had to confront the darkness within myself, the anger that had driven me, the emptiness that now consumed me. I had achieved my revenge, but at what cost? Had I truly found justice, or had I simply perpetuated the cycle of pain and suffering? The questions lingered, unanswered. As I walked away from the scene of my triumph, a hollow victory echoing in the silence of my heart. The reckoning had just begun.